Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to working on the Diresta Bandsaw restoration, and we've been working on this bottom shaft that will drive the bottom bandsaw wheel. We'll have a pulley that goes to a motor, and then the shaft will go through a set of bearings and then drive the bottom 48-inch wheel on this gigantic bandsaw. Now, we've already done quite a bit of work to this shaft. We've already turned a taper down here that will fit up into a tapered hub on that shaft. We did quite a bit of work getting measurements, having to make a special gauge to set up our taper attachment, turning this out on the taper attachment. We've also already cut our 1¼ by 10 left-hand threads on the end here where a nut will come up on there. And the final step really on this shaft is we need to turn this outside part, the part that will go through the babbitt bearing and the part that will hold the pulley to its final dimension. So this was, what was it, 1¼ I think, outside, or 2¼ inch, excuse me, outside diameter on this. This was just the size I needed to get my taper. The actual size that this needs to be is 2 3/16 inch, if I remember right. We'll double check that, but I think that's what it was. I remember it was somewhat of an oddball size, which I've talked about this a lot in my older videos. I don't know why, but back in the day, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they really liked using these 16th inch shaft sizes for some reason that I've never really fully understood. But that's what it was, and that's what we're going to go back to. So the job is we need to take this over to the lathe. We need to machine this side, face this side, put a center in it. We'll have to use the steady rest for that. And then once we get a center in this, we will support it from the end. We'll probably just chuck this end up in probably just the 3-jaw chuck. I mean, I think it'll be plenty accurate enough. And then we will turn this thing on out. So let's get set up over on the lathe and get to work. Well, I said I was going to use the 3-jaw chuck, but I got better senses than that. I'm going to use the 4-jaw chuck, and we're going to dial this thing in using a dial indicator, get it running true. One thing I did want to just kind of mention is on a job like this where I've already turned that one end and I don't want to mar it up, I want to use some little pieces of brass to actually protect that so my chuck doesn't dig into that nice surface that we've already machined on it. Now, a while back I made these little brass pieces that just kind of fold up on here. I took some brass stock, some sheet stock, and just cut them out. And when I need to do this, these just fit right up on there. And they're really nice because they will hold themselves on. Now, a lot of times I got up here on the lathe just some brass stock that I will put like in a 3-jaw chuck or whatever just to give it some protection. But these little keepers really come in handy for a job like this. So let's get our shaft and put it up in there. Now, I still have the steady rest set over here and set up from the last time we did this. So that should be pretty close to being right. We're going to slide that up in as far as it'll go. It's going to actually won't go up into the shaft or into the through hole in the lathe. So we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of snug these down, and then we will get the dial indicator out and dial it in. So I'm sure we're out as it is right now. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're just going to kind of roll this thing around and see, and it looks like we're mainly out across between these 2 jaws, so in this direction. And let's look at the way our indicator going. So when it's moving towards me, the part is coming towards me. When it moves away from me, the part's moving away from me. So we'll roll around over here. It's coming to me, so this one is in 60 thousandths. I had that zeroed out on the other side. So it needs to go away from me half of that, which is 30 thousandths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one back around. I'm going to loosen this jaw here up a little bit, and then we're going to roll it back around again. And I want to go in to, that's not going to be quite enough, but we'll go ahead and check it again. So you see I took a bunch out. Now we're only at about 20 thou. So there's our new 0. I'm going to again loosen this jaw up just a little bit and bring this one around, and I want to bring it into about that 90 mark roughly. Sorry, I bumped the camera there. That should be pretty close. So we are only about 5 or 6 thou out now. So there's our new 0. I'm just going to lightly bump this over just a little bit. Give me a little bit of room to tighten it on. All right, we're at 7 thou, so I'm going to take out half of that. So we'll go to 3.5 thou on the dial indicator, which is about right there. Let's 0 that out. And it's a process. So we're at 0 right there. Come around. We're about 2 thou out maximum there. I'm going to loosen this one up. It's actually pretty close. And the way it's jumping kind of looks like, I wonder if there's a spot on that. I'm going to move this dial indicator down just a touch. That looks more believable. Loosen that jaw. Come around over here. All right, we're running within 1 thou there. And the way it's kind of bumping kind of makes me believe that that may just be the irregularities on the shaft there. Actually, no, that's good. That's within 1/2 thou. I think we're good. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure all of these are snugged down good. So that's good. All right. All right, you can see here we are set up over here on the lathe now. We've got our steady rest in here that is supporting this out here. Should still be set up from the last time. And what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and turn this, face this end off, and put a center drill in there so that we can support it with a center on the end to turn that. So let's fire the lathe up, and I think we'll be ready to roll. All right, here we go. We are going to touch off on this end. Just try to get us a nice face on there. Needs just a little bit more. That looks good. Go ahead and chamfer this, break that edge. And we got a center drill in here. I'm gonna pull in. I can tell my shaft is not running just exactly right. It needs to yeah. All right, that's better there. What was going on is it was kind of pushed down a little bit, but I could tell from where I faced that, where the center was, I've got that lined up pretty good on the center drill now. Going to come in and use our center drill to put a center in the end. There we go. And now we'll come in with a live center and actually support that shaft right there and lock it down. Now with the shaft supported at the tailstock, we can take the steady rest completely out. So I'm just going to back it off here, and we'll pull it completely out of the way, because we're going to be turning this shaft. We can't have this in here. It'd be nice to have it in there to give it that extra support. On a long shaft like this, you sometimes get a little bit of chatter, but hopefully we'll be able to get by without worrying about that too much. So we'll just pull this on out of the way. All right, so I've gone over and verified, double-checked my measurement for the outside diameter. We want this to be 2 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch is 180 side, or 0.1875. Yeah, and we are measuring right now. This is just nominal stock, and it's 2 1/4, which is 250 thousandths, which means we got a little over 60 thousandths we need to cut off of this. So let's just go ahead and get started at it. All right, we're going to come in here, touch off, and I'm just going to take about 30 thousandths total and let it roll on out. So far, so good. Looks like it's turning good. We'll see. Hopefully we won't get any vibration when we get in here toward the middle of this. I'm on a 4 thousandths feed, so every revolution of the shaft is moving in 4 thousandths of an inch. And we'll just cut that outer shell off and get her on in here. I'll put a little cutting oil on here. Give it just a little bit of lubrication. The other thing this will do is that you see all that smoke coming off. That's actually releasing heat. So that heat is releasing in the form of smoke rather than coming down into the part. It just kind of helps keep things a little bit cooler when you don't have coolant. So we'll let her roll on through here. All right. That's as much as it's going to take off right there. And what I want to do now is just stop. That's still nice and cool. And I want to get some good measurements on this. I want to make sure we're not turning a taper. Make sure it's running the same dimension from one end to the other. If it is and it's uniform, we can adjust that with our tailstock, but hopefully everything's going to measure out good. So give me a few minutes to do that, and I'll let you know where we're at. All right, guys, I have come over here with a micrometer, and I have carefully gone up and down this thing a couple of times, measuring the diameter from one end to the other. And there is a little bit of a taper going on here, and it's about 3 thousandths of an inch. So this end of the shaft is 3 thousandths of an inch smaller than this end of the shaft. Now, why would that be? The big reason is that my tailstock probably needs to be fine-tuned and adjusted. I do this periodically when I'm turning long shafts, and depending on where, how long the shaft is, where the tailstock's sitting, and the run on the carriage here, it can vary somewhat. Why is that? Let's just face it, this is an older lathe, and it has some wear. All lathes are going to have wear unless they're brand new or been freshly reground. You know, we rebuilt this lathe several years ago, but we did not regrind the bed or the ways. We know there's some wear in here. It's pretty minimal, but this is a case where it kind of shows. So we're just going to adjust our tailstock to compensate for that wear. And fortunately, our taper is fairly uniform. It's not perfectly uniform, but we should be able to get this shaft within a thou. Well, I mean, it's already within 3 thou, but we should be able to get it within probably, I'm going to say, 1 thousandth of an inch with a little quick adjustment. So this is, again, something you have to do, and you know, whenever you're running this tailstock in different positions, you might have to tweak it a little bit different depending on where it's at. No big deal. So to do this adjustment, I'll tell you what, I'm going to just kind of get all this out of the way. But to do this adjustment, your tailstock actually is designed where you can move it left to right. There's a screw here, and there's another one on the other side, and what I want to do is I want to move it the smaller on this end than it is on the other end. So this end needs to come, this end needs to go away from me. It needs to go away from me by half of 3/1000ths of an inch, which is 1.5 thou. So I need to move the tailstock away from me 1.5 thousandths. So when I do that, that should make a fairly uniform cut going down through there. So I'm going to get my dial indicator out, and we'll do exactly that. All right, we're ready to make our adjustment. Again, we want the tailstock to come away from us. Let me straighten that up just a little bit so I don't get any sine error going on. Again, we need the tailstock to move away from us 1.5 thousandths. So I'm just going to, real quickly, when I move it toward me, notice the needle comes this way. So when the needle goes in this direction, it's going away from me. It's just a quick way. If you want to verify, you can just move your needle and do that. Sometimes, you know, I kind of know which way they go, but it just, again, confirms things. Now there's 2 set screws on this, one on each side, and that adjusts things back and forth. I've got it set on 0. Now you guys are looking at it at an angle, so it probably isn't reading 0 exactly in the camera lens. I apologize for that. But when I look straight down on it, it's reading right on 0. So what I need to do is, let's see, I'm going to loosen this side up just a little bit. I'm actually going to go to 2 thousandths, and I'm going to come to the other side, and I'm going to tighten it up until it reads 1.5. So we'll come. All right, we'll tighten it up right there. That's 1.5 thou. So hopefully that'll take our error out of it. We've got this set now where it needs to be, and it's a very small adjustment. Honestly, 3/1000ths of an inch over that shaft would have probably been fine like it was, but being a machinist, you seek perfection, even though sometimes it's not necessary. But this should hopefully pull that out. We're going to make another light pass down through there, check it out, see where it's at, and finish this thing up. If we need to, we might make another adjustment. We'll come back down here. I'm going to touch back off again, and I think we'll make a 20/1000ths cut this time, which is about half of what we got left to go. So just doing it off my dial. That should be just right under 20/1000ths of an inch. And we'll let her cut on down through there. I think I'm going to go ahead and measure this before I pull my cutter back across there, see where we're at. All right, I took another 20/1000ths off camera. We're down, we just need 6/1000ths more to go. So I'm just going to dial this in. So we're going to right about there. See what kind of taper we ended up with at the very end here. Looks like maybe just a thousandth or two, about a thou. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And I think we're good. The finish turned out on this absolutely excellent. I'm not even gonna hit this with emery cloth. It just looks good. So I think we're done. I think we are done. And just like that, I think we have the shaft all finished up, ready to go back onto the machine. Once we're ready, we do need to pour Babbitt bearings over there still, and we will use this shaft as a mandrel for that. That'll be coming up a little bit later on, but and we also still need to make the nut that goes up on here. This is one off the other side. With that, guys, I think we've got this done, and that is going to be a wrap on this video and on this little sub-series on making this shaft. I think we got 3 videos in this all together now. It's pretty interesting work, you know, turning tapers, left-hand threads, and then some long shaft turning, and having to deal with making adjustments on an old lathe when you're turning a long shaft to get things out just right. So anyway, a lot of fun in that. So with that, guys, it's going to be a wrap. As always, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are greatly appreciated. And hit that bell icon to get notifications of new videos being posted. And with that, guys, we will catch you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.